What if the biggest obstacle to living a fulfilled life isn't a lack of money, talent, or opportunity, but literally just the way we've been taught to view happiness? Every single day, millions of people completely postpone their joy. We silently believe that we just don't quite deserve to be happy until every little thing in our lives is perfectly resolved. Well, today, we are going to dive into this explainer and dismantle that toxic myth. We're unpacking the hidden power of present happiness and how shifting your perspective can absolutely transform your reality. You know that little voice that says, "Oh, I'll be happy when I get that promotion," or "I'll finally enjoy life once I retire"? We treat happiness like it's this magical finish line. But experts point out that this is a really dangerous trap. When we do this, we are actually robbing ourselves of the present moment. We end up treating our current life as just some waiting room for a future that, let's be honest, is never guaranteed. Before we get into the actual science of well-being, take a quick second to subscribe to the Mente Sabe e Vida channel for our weekly explainer analyses. We are constantly exploring ideas that can help you understand yourself and the world just a little bit better. If you love deep dives into human psychology, you really won't want to miss what we have coming up. Okay, so part 1, the illusion of happiness. Let's talk about why waiting for the future is a complete trap. We've all been sold this marketing dream, right? That happiness is permanently tied to some future milestone. But the psychiatrist Dr. Anna Beatriz hits the nail on the head here. She points out how we totally trick ourselves into thinking retirement and just, doing nothing will bring us ultimate joy. But biologically, that is a total disaster. If you retire just to sit around, nature basically sees you as useless and begins to eliminate you from the game, both cognitively and physically. We absolutely need purpose, movement, and engagement to thrive. The time to engage with life is right now. And this is even worse when we look at our daily habits. Think about it. We constantly compare our messy, ordinary, real life to these carefully edited highlight reels of the future, or worse, to the curated lives of digital influencers. We're literally comparing our behind-the-scenes struggles to someone else's red carpet moments. It's a game you simply cannot win, and it silently just chips away at your self-worth. Moving on to section 2, the primitive brain. Turns out our very biology is actually wired against our modern happiness. We often think that if we're feeling anxious or unhappy, there must be something deeply broken within us. But the truth is much more fascinating. If you're anxious, you're not broken. It's just biology. Our primitive brains have this massive negativity bias designed purely for survival. Think of it like this. Your brain is literally like Velcro for bad experiences, but it's like Teflon for the good ones. If you get 10 compliments and 1 criticism, which one is keeping you awake at 3 a.m.? The criticism, right? Evolutionarily, remembering a predator kept you alive. Remembering a pretty sunset didn't. Our minds are basically ancient machines that are constantly scanning for threats. If you leave your brain on autopilot, it's going to prioritize avoiding pain and hunting for quick, cheap dopamine hits over any real long-term fulfillment. It will leave you incredibly stressed and miserable if you don't step in. You literally have to learn to step back, observe this machinery, and question your own internal narratives instead of just accepting every anxious thought as an absolute fact. But there is a way out. Let's look at section 3. The science of well-being. Dr. Enrique Bueno is a great example of this. He was a super successful corporate lawyer making great money, but internally, he felt this massive, crushing emptiness. So he left the corporate world to become an expert in a field that fundamentally changed how he understood the human mind. He discovered positive psychology. And look, I need to be super clear here. This is not toxic positivity. It is not about forcing a fake smile and pretending everything is awesome. It is the actual scientific study of what makes life worth living. For decades, traditional psychology only asked, how do we fix what's broken? Positive psychology asks, how do we build what is strong? It's about learning the practical skills to live a resilient life even when things get really hard. And Dr. Ana Beatriz points out a super fascinating demographic trend here. Do you know who the happiest people actually are? They're usually around 10 years old or over 60. Why? Because a 10-year-old is just living in the moment with zero societal expectations. And the 60-plus crowd? They finally gained the wisdom to just completely stop caring about what other people think. Meanwhile, those of us in that 30 to 35 range are often getting crushed by midlife hustle, constant comparison, and this immense pressure to become something. It's an exhausting phase, and if you're in it, you deserve a lot of self-compassion. So how do we actually fix that? Section 4, the SPIRE model, and the dimensions of well-being. Instead of just chasing this vague idea of happiness, positive psychology uses the SPIRE model to build a realistic foundation. It breaks well-being into 5 interconnected parts.
spiritual, which just means finding personal meaning, physical, taking care of your body, intellectual, staying deeply curious, relational, building genuine connections, and emotional, which is building resilience. The beauty of this is that it proves you don't have to be perfectly happy all the time. It's just about keeping a dynamic balance. If one area is struggling, the others can hold you up.
But hey, if you were to prioritize just one of those dimensions, make it this one for sure. There's this incredibly famous 70-year-long Harvard study that tracked people for their entire lives, and it confirmed that the absolute most important factor for our long-term health isn't wealth, it's not fame, it's not even your cholesterol levels. It is purely the quality of our relationships and our community connections. We are profoundly social creatures, and having people we can truly count on is our greatest defense against life's storms.
And speaking of the emotional dimension, there's a game-changing concept called radical emotional acceptance. Listen, true emotional well-being means it is completely okay to be sad or angry. Don't fight your biology. If you're stressed, feel it. The trick isn't suppressing the emotion, it's stepping back, observing it without judging yourself, and then consciously choosing how you react. You don't let the emotion hijack your behavior.
Which brings us to Section 5, the power of the present. Let's talk about a concrete way to actively rewire your brain.
It all comes down to the number 3. When Dr. Bueno was at Harvard, his professor challenged him to do something that honestly sounds almost too simple. He told him to write down exactly 3 specific blessings every single day for 30 days. At first, Dr. Bueno thought it was a cheesy cliche, but doing it consistently, it literally transformed his entire perspective.
But here's the catch. You have to do it right to get the scientific benefits. You can't just mumble, thank you, and move on. First, recall a very specific positive event from your day, even if it's just a really great cup of coffee. Second, close your eyes and physically feel the emotion of that moment again. And third, actually write it down. By doing this daily, you are physically forcing your brain to carve new, positive neural pathways. You are training the Teflon of your brain to become Velcro for the good stuff.
And that leads to this amazing realization. Happiness is not some magical kingdom you're going to arrive at once your mortgage is paid off and all your problems are solved. It's just a mature, grounded way of seeing, accepting, and experiencing life exactly as it is right now. The moment you stop delegating your joy to the distant future and actually start practicing presence today is the exact moment your world starts to change.
So, I have to ask you, are you ready to stop waiting for your life to begin and start finding the meaning in your present? If this explainer gave you some good food for thought, do me a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to Mente Saberi Vida, and share this with someone who really needs to hear this message today. Remember, you don't have to be perfect to be happy, and the absolute greatest investment you will ever make is in yourself. Thanks for hanging out with me on this deep dive, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.